Alright guys, plan is here. I've literally downloaded a picture of a fish, traced the outline, traced around his gills. This is the old fish in question. Crimson spotted rainbow fish. So after doing a bit of looking around out the dam, there's quite a few of them actually in there. Got some silicon on the way. I'm going to cast this one out of polyurethane. Obviously timber blank to start off with, but overall length will be, well, that's 150 there, but it's going to be a multi-segmented swimbait. So it's probably going to end up being more close to 170, maybe, by the time it's finished, including the tail. I'm either going to make the tail out of polycarbonate or use some thin silicon baking sheets. So it'll be very soft and floppy, flop around. I'm not sure how many segments I'm going to cut this into just yet. Maybe, definitely head. Might be a 4-piece bait plus tail. Or actually no, the tail will be in the last piece, so yeah, 4-piece, 12mm eye. Yeah, I'm going to try a new technique in this one. Don't know whether it'll work. I bought some spray putty. So while it's still a timber blank before the mould, I'm going to put some mesh over it and spray it with putty. It's an automotive spray filler. Hopefully that'll create some scale textures. Obviously keep it off the gills, start up the top. Probably just put some sticky tape or something over the gills. Might try and carve the gills too, in that pattern obviously. Yeah, should be an interesting one. Something out of my wheelhouse. I've never made a multi-segmented bait. Done a couple of glides, but I don't know whether I've showed the glide before, but so that glide bait there is the best. Ow! Sharp hooks. That glide bait there is the one I've had the most success with. Swims really nice. It's pretty heavy, but swims really nice. Obviously when I was first learning how to paint, it's pretty average, but it's 150mm long, and I think from memory it was about 55 grams. Slow sinker. Alright, so I'm going to be using a bit of Moranti because it's easy to work with. Plus, the whole purpose of this is just a master to make the silicon mold, so it doesn't matter really what the wood is. So just the raw body length presently, 130mm. So that's probably its tallest point. There's 45, 46. Yeah, and this bit of wood's 19mm, so it's going to be a fairly long, skinny one. Again, because I don't trust this yellow sticker too much, I'm going to trace around it with a black marker, just in case it does start lifting up. I've got the original on it. Alright, so I'm thinking while it's still in a square form, I can put the square on it and cut the segments. So that's pretty much its center line there. Let's instead of guessing, we'll mark it out. And I want the toe point to be just lower the center. So center line that way. Go out there for his first join. Give me plenty of room at the head to get some weight in it. So what's that? I'll go 60mm, eh? 60 leaves us with 70mm. Make these ones even. Okay Google, what's 70 divided by 3?
The answer is approximately 23.333333.
Alright, so next section there. Alright, something like that, eh? So front hook hanger will be up here somewhere. And rear hook hanger will probably be about there. Probably go maybe a 1 or a 1.0 size hook. I don't want to put the hook right on the tail piece. I want that to be as free as possible to wiggle. Alright, next time you see that we'll be cutting it. That's his rough profile cut out. Now I'm going to come through and cut down these vertical lines from either side. There's guidelines for later. Be a nightmare trying to do that with a curved bait. I'll chuck him on the sander and tidy up the lines a bit, and then we'll look at what we're going to do with the tapers. Well, that's in. I'm going to chuck pilot hole through that eye now, and we'll look at shaping his body. Tell you what, got some mice in my shed and it's annoying. Might have noticed that weird little bump there. The actual fish has that. Don't know what its purpose is, but the fish had it, so we're putting it in. Belly's making some funny noises, excuse that. The tail, because we're going to be putting a tail fin into it, let's go a little bit wider. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8mm wide at the tail, 6mm wide at the nose. From the pictures I looked at, their wide point is probably just behind their gills. So I'm going to start the wide point there, all the way to this first join. I'll mark that off straight. So they are fairly uniform little fish from the nose to the tail. They don't really change shape much. That's why I went with a skinny block of wood. Keep them tall. Hopefully also try to keep the weight down a bit so it's not so cumbersome to cast. That's what we're looking at so far. Hopefully he gets a bit of swimming action in him. Alright, so all I done was cut another one of those stencils out. Obviously just cut it short, I only needed the gills. So I just cut it out, laid it down. I just traced the gaps, just for lines to do the gills with. I'm going to try and carve them. It worked pretty well there. Pretty much spot on. The only difference is that one's a little bit different there, but I'll fix that while I'm carving. It should go like that. Currently working on getting a computer set up out here so I can have a screen, so I can actually see what I'm doing. I've noticed on a couple of videos recently when I've been airbrushing away, I slowly creep out here and end up airbrushing out here, so hopefully I can get the other screen set up and just cast the video to that so I can see what I'm actually looking at. Because at the moment this is pretty much at eye level and I've got to sort of sit up straight and look to make sure I'm in the shot. So you might think that gill looks a bit funny. I'm actually going to do the taper. It's going to run down real low. So the whole top half of his body is going to be pretty skinny. That one's a little bit off, but that's fine. So I'll show you the quick sneak peek at what I was stuffing around with. So I bought two different products to try and do a scale pattern. You see where I tried on that one, it didn't really work. It was too soft and powdery. But this one here, the camera will focus on it. That one worked really well. So all it is a primer, a body filler for automotive. So I'm gonna, after I get this all shaped, I'm gonna scale it up while it's still raw wood and try and spray some scales onto it. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it looks cool. If it doesn't, I can always start again. Alright, I'll give that a quick sanding and then we'll move on to the chamfer lines. Nothing extravagant, just enough to stand out a little bit. Eyeball it again, make sure I'm happy with it. It looks pretty good. Now the bottom, because I need to keep a lot of girth in it, get the weight in it. Just going to do your generic round over to there, then straighten it out to the tail. Purposely leaving a fair bit of meat in that tail because I've got to put a tail fin in it. Which I probably should have already cut the slot for, but I haven't. I'm going to trace them on with a pen so I don't rub them off as I'm carving. And we'll start carving. A little carving knife again. Still super sharp. The only problem with Marantee, it gets a lot of chip out real easy, so I'm going to have to be careful. Yeah, I'm gonna chuck it in the vise without touching the gills. Just try and round over Around over the top and around over the belly a bit, and the rest's pretty much all going to be hand sand. We'll see how I go. If I can't clamp it properly, it might all be hand sand. Yeah, that was too hard trying to sand it in the vise. Bit of 120 grit. I'll probably cut most of this out because it's going to take ages. Alright, got a bit 240 grit. So I've got him roughly shaped. I'm pretty happy with where it is. Everything looks somewhat symmetrical. Got a bit rogue and transferred his gills all the way down around through his throat. Just give it a bit more definition. Alright, got him all sanded up to 600 grit. And give it a quick squirt of this stuff. And then sand again, probably have to clean out the gills a little bit. And then I'm going to put that mesh on there. Alright, here it is after the first coat of that spray putty. See, there's still a few wood grain showing through, so sand it with a 400 grit. Give it another coat, I think. Alrighty guys. Give that two coats of that spray putty. It's quite thick, it's quite hard actually. Give it a quick sand with some 400, then 600. And scales. It took a hell of a lot of trying different methods to try and get something to work, so I'm going to have to do one side at a time. Pretty happy with the layout. It's fairly tight on there. Obviously there's nothing on the spine, nothing on the belly, so yeah, I'm going to go and spray it. Let it dry, flip it over, spray it again. Alright guys, that's the result. It did work, I'm just not happy with it. So what that filler done, instead of actually filling and creating a scale, it's sort of hollowed out and then lifted up to where the mesh was, which in theory makes sense. I probably should have thought about that, but then I got a bit mushed up there when I done the second side, so I'm not happy with it. I'm going to sand it off and I think we're going to carve some scales. So I need to draw some sort of lateral line to send these scales along. Alright, now is the fun part. I'll use these guys, might make it a bit easier. I reckon 3 millimeters, 3.5. Alright, so I've marked out those 3.5 mil centers for the scales. Just going to cut a V template. No particular angle, just going for something I think might look alright. I'm just going to go through and just put a small little V on each dot. every time I move down a spot, I'm just straightening that stencil so the gap at the top and the bottom's similar. I would say the same, but they're probably not. Just going to carry on like that for a long time. Obviously when I come back the other way, I'm just going to line it up like that and do the exact opposite. So I create perfect diamonds. But it's starting to get cold out here. I'm going to go inside and keep drawing. Alright guys, so here we are, all the lines are drawn on. I had a bit of a practice run inside carving the other side. Turns out that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So a bit of paper towel so I don't smush what I've already done, but this time I'm literally just going to do the diamond pattern. So this side will look a little bit different than the other side. I'm okay with that if you guys are. I'm just going to brush off all the dust and whatnot. After I carve those scales, I go with another quick light sanding just to knock off any of the sharp edges so it's smooth. Also went back in and cleaned those eyes so they were nice and flat inside. Don't want to make a mould with a crooked eye. Also chamfered off the corners a little bit so they're not aggressive in the mould. Anyway, blue stuff I've been spraying it with, Septone acrylic spray putty. Alright guys, this one's going for a long time, so I'm thinking I'm going to split the video. So when we come back, we'll cut that guy into his 4 segments, we'll get him mould ready. Then we'll cast a few and start weighting them and joining them, paint them. So that should be interesting. What do you think so far? The scales are done the second time. Scales are done the first time. First ones are a little bit average, but you get that. You always get better as you go, don't you? Alright guys, catch you in part 2.